for the win. They hand it off to Johnson. Boise State has won the top.
They take a downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams. Still spinning free. Touchdown. The touchdown in the first possession. Back in the game. And he's loose again. Edwards off and running. Welcome back, Donovan Edwards.
He's going for the corner. He's got it.
This is the Gridiron Uncensored.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Gridiron Uncensored podcast. The season previews are rolling on. We are in the Big 12, getting deep into it now, finally kind of getting out of the bottom. Oh, no, we're still on the bottom. We're talking about UCF tonight. Look at them. And, you know, they made some changes. There's a lot going on with this team. The return of Scott Frost, interesting. So we'll get into all of that. First, obviously, you look at 2024 and, you know, the start of that season, you play New Hampshire, you play Sam Houston, 2 wins there, and then you play TCU and get a win in a very tight game. And UCF's like, okay, we might be able to do something. No, and then you go get blasted by Colorado, Florida, Cincinnati. You lose to pretty much everybody, and then you beat down a very bad Arizona team that we just recently covered. So now, again, we talk about the changes. Malzahn's moving on. You bring in Scott Frost back. Trev, you got us on coaching staff. I mean, a lot's changed. They're excited about it, but we've got some questions. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously we all know about Scott Frost, and well, we just know about Scott Frost. Those of you that don't know and that have been living underneath a rock, Scott Frost is the former coach at Nebraska, and he brings over Scott Frost is bringing with him or to the offensive side of the ball, Steve Cooper at the offensive coordinator position. He comes to UCF with kind of a weird 2024 season where he was just an offensive analyst for Boise State. And to make that leap from offensive analyst to offensive coordinator, I find it a little interesting. So I'm just curious. From what I've been reading, he was instrumental in their offensive scheme at Boise. He was a very big part of it. So with that said, I feel like that's not that big of a jump for him to make that jump. And then they bring in what I think is a very good, very, very good defensive coordinator, in my opinion, Alex Grinch, 4-time nominee and 2-time Broyles Award semifinalist. Comes over as last year he was co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach for Wisconsin. So I think that's a great pickup, honestly. Someone that has some experience, someone that's really Wisconsin defense, I guess, leaves a little bit to be desired the past few years, but still, it's in the Big Ten. I mean, it's a good get, and he knows what he's doing, and he has a different talent pool than he had at Wisconsin down there at UCF. So I think we'll see what they can do with that this year.
Blake knocking his mic over. What you got on Alex Grinch, buddy? Because
I don't
flinching at the Grinch.
I don't think I hate Alex Grinch. I mean, what he did with old Lincoln Riley, awful.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just wanting to point out one other coach, Mackenzie Milton at quarterback coach.
Yeah.
He played at UCF, and he was a legend. Assisted there with that national title run by UCF with old Scott Frost, aka the paperback chameleon, they call him. Yeah, he's got very pasty, pale skin. They say he can put his hand on a piece of paper and you cannot find it.
That's fitting since, back in his Nebraska days, him and his family wrote a note to try and, get them that national title in '97. But either way, that's neither here nor there. The Alex Grinch thing is strange because before, he went with Lincoln Riley, he was pretty well regarded in the coordinator realm, and then the way shit went down out at USC, he got canned. Was he really that bad? Was it the whole thing? It's hard to say. Is he a scapegoat? And then he keeps getting hired all these places and getting fired. It's like insane. The same with Wisconsin. I talked about with somebody on Twitter, another football page, and they're like, I don't know. I kind of like the guy and what he brings in his abilities, but at the same time, it's like he's always getting canned. Is he just a scapegoat, or does he really suck? Does he have dirt on somebody? How the fuck does he keep getting hired? It's like, what's going on?
Well, the way I've looked at it ever since he was at USC is that USC has failed their coordinators, because the coordinators are only as good as the players they're able to bring in and the head coaches be able to bring in.
Yeah.
So USC brought in terrible defensive talent. You could just see it on the field. They were terrible. Zero. Like, they were just not good players, in my opinion. Wisconsin also kind of had the same problem. I really didn't think that they had a very good, talented defense at all. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do blame a little bit of the coaching, because there's some fundamentals that need to be taught. Sure. And need to be drilled into these guys. But when you're getting to this level, I feel like you kind of already should have the fundamentals down.
Oh yeah, I mean,
when you're at D1, even if you're not a freshman, you already have the fundamentals on what your position group is supposed to do, what your jobs are, and all you got to do is learn the new playbook.
Yeah, and
that's literally all it is in 100% effort. And I think that's where Alex Grinch's defenses, I find the biggest problem with, is that he doesn't seem to get 100% effort.
Yeah.
For 4 quarters. And that's my only knock on him. And I mean, we'll see how he does at UCF, but that's my only knock, is that it seems like all of his defenses maybe will play good for a couple quarters, but they will not play for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one pans out. I just, it's curious that everywhere he goes, like recently, it's just he's the guy that gets canned. Everybody blames him, but then you look at USC, even after he was gone, it was the same, same old stories. So maybe he's not as bad as people say. I don't know. I don't know. You guys let us know.
It could be a good pickup to have the experience. I mean, even if he turns out to be bad, when you have a whole new system like that, it does help having somebody who's been around the block.
And it's year one. If you suck, you can him. He's on to the next play.
Get him out of here.
That's probably what Scott Frost was like. He's like, all right, I've got my scapegoat immediately. If we suck, I blame it on him. Hey, that's pretty good tactics. I like what you're doing, Scott. All right, let's move on, because it's just interesting. Portal wise, though, again, they're retooling the team. 40 in, 44 out. You got a lot going on here. Some of the guys I wrote down as keys: Carter Miller on the offensive line, Brandon Jacob at safety, and Sincere Edwards on the edge. There's some solid guys that are coming in. Even Jaden McDonald, excuse me. But then you do lose some guys like Marcel Marshall, Zray Alexander, and then Chasen Johnson. So there, you lose some guys, but again, you're bringing in dudes from all over the country. Power 5, Group of 5 types. Ole Miss, West Virginia, UNC. What are you guys seeing from the portal side? Anything that stands out to you?
I mean, I feel like there's plenty of serviceable players, especially. I noticed a few players, like you said, Jair Brown out of LSU. Great, feels like that'd be a good fit. I like the OU pick, Lewis Carter, linebacker out of Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And then there's a couple wide receivers that I'm interested. Tavon Jackson out of Indiana as a quarterback. That could be a potential starter this year for him.
Yeah.
I like a lot of what they brought in, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
I mean, they poached a safety and cornerback out from Syracuse. And then they also added, like we just talked about, Jader Brown. So I think that with the defensive side of the ball, I think they did really well in the portal, especially. There was one other one. Where is he? A D lineman. Yeah, R.J. Jackson Jr. out of Tulsa was a no-star out of high school and now is a 3-star transfer. So he obviously impressed enough to get that 3-star rating. But I mean Tulsa to UCF. I mean, I feel like that's pretty decent.
Yeah, and multiple guys. Even more we'll talk about when we get down into defense and stuff. But in the offensive side of the ball, just a lot of depth, a lot of good positions that I think they picked up to build that depth. And oh my God, my bad. Blake's crushing that paper. So Blake dropped off, and I did forget to mention for those of you that are just listening, Blake's back.
I'll be honest, I can't hear a word anybody's saying.
Can you guys hear me? Trevor, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's fine. Right. Yeah, we're good.
So Blake's might having some issues. He'll pop on and off, and we'll get that figured out. But let's drive on with going into the offensive side of the ball. Again, we mentioned massive overhaul really across everything. Questions at quarterback, who's starting. You mentioned Taven Jackson, Cam Fancher coming in from FAU. Curry Brown's another one that they talked about. Trev, I mean, what do you think? I don't think they've settled it. I've looked on their pages. I've looked everywhere.
It's an open competition. It's an open competition for just about every position, I feel like, at this point. Yeah. When you bring in a new coach like this and new coordinators, basically every position is open. Maybe not for starter spots, but definitely for backups. And yeah, I feel like the quarterback position's a little wide open here for them as well. They brought in I counted 2 new quarterbacks on top of the quarterbacks they already had on the roster. Oh no, sorry, 3. Excuse me, 3 different quarterbacks in the transfer portal plus whatever they have.
Yeah.
So I mean,
they're trying to find an answer.
They're trying to find an answer. Exactly right. I think Tavon Jackson's probably the favorite. If I was to guess, but I would not count out Cam Fancher out of FAU, the 6'2", 200. I would not count him out either, but like I said, I think it's an open battle for sure.
I agree. You run that thing through the fall, and Fancher, he's got the experience. He's been around. He's started a lot of games. I read that he did hurt a hand in spring, but
I did read that, but I mean, I still think it's going to be an open competition all the way up until right before, probably a couple weeks before the start of the season in August. Yeah, mid to late August, we'll probably find something out.
I agree with you. Might as well keep it to yourself, until you figure it out. Offensive line was another one that, again, one returning starter. But they're bringing in a bunch of guys. I mentioned Carter Miller coming in from Louisiana Monroe, but other guys, guard, coming in from Washington. There was another one, Justin Roy is coming in. I mean, you got multiple offensive linemen, Leftwich coming in from UNC, Cushman coming in from Ole Miss. So you're getting people to plug in and to hopefully fill these holes. It's just, how can how do they mesh? And we talk about that all the time. Mm-hmm. I forgot to mention returning productions in the lower 40s last time. I haven't seen Bill Conley's latest updates on those. I don't think he's updated it just yet, but prior to the spring portal, it was at 40. And then they had the 42nd ranked portal class. So again, not bad. They're getting people, they're getting depth and guys that are rated pretty decently.
Yeah, I noticed that they did have a pretty good haul on the offensive side of the ball from FAU, honestly, with Elijah Brown and the quarterback. So there might be a connection that Frost is gonna try and exploit his first season just to have some sort of continuity on the offense.
Yeah, and I noticed that too with Brown, and then it's funny, I wish 24/7 updated because it sounds like he popped smoke. He's gone off to Kentucky now.
It sounds that way.
Try to bring these people in, and then they move on. But
they don't. Yeah, we don't. The updates are not as good as they probably could be.
No, 24/7 got to get on their stuff, especially with the team talent rankings too. Why does that come out in late August? That doesn't make sense. Blake, can you hear us? You're back in. Are you good?
I'm good.
All right, cool. So we're talking all line, what receivers they've got talent. Running back, I think they're solid with Miles Montgomery at their halfback one. But the biggest thing again was they just could not get anything going. It's just an ugly offense. Obviously Scott Frost comes in to try and rekindle that and get the spark back. So if they can get him moving, I mean, he was getting 5.7 yards per carry last year behind, the offense that they had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can get that going, there's a running game right there, and there's potential. It just depends again what quarterback steps up. Blake, what do you see on the offensive side for UCF? Anything that stands out? Do they have a chance this year?
I mean, I wouldn't put super high expectations on any first-year coach coming in, especially with the turnover they had.
Yeah.
The quarterback is going to be big. They've got 3 capable quarterbacks there. I think Trevor said it right before I cut out. I'm more impressed with the defensive pickups they've had. He named several of the ones that I'd looked at. There was one in particular that a lot of people was really high on, and you may have said it, Kelly Lawson from Virginia Tech.
Yeah, no, I didn't mention it, but I did notice that he was a good one to pick. That they picked.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of people on Twitter rave over the guy. I didn't look at what he did at Virginia Tech, but a lot of people are high on him. And then the OU pickup, and there was another one from Oklahoma, Phil.
Yeah,
I guess is how you say it.
Picotti.
People think he's going to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I've read about him as well. Is they're expecting him to really step in immediately and to fill, to be a guy. From what I've been reading on their boards, and they're excited about him. Defensively, I think this is going to be the strength of the team until the offense figures it out, offensive line, and they go through and really fit who their starting 5 is, who that quarterback's going to be. Defense is going to have to lead this team. And, like I said, Picciotti at linebacker, McDonald coming in at linebacker. Cornerbacks seem solid. They got, good depth there. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, boys. It all depends on the schedule and the front ends of it.
Yep.
Well, I will say offensively, I think their main issue last year was just scheme.
Yeah.
Because they did have talent. They had speed in multiple positions. Because I saw it in several games. But like you said, they just never could get it going. And Malzahn, when he first hit the stage with his offense, it was very difficult to stop because it was a new thing. But everybody kind of runs that RPO now. So unless you're just very dynamic with it, which he's not, it's just it doesn't always work. And I think that was a lot of their issue last year. I do think Scott Frost will fix that.
And that raises that's why I raised the question with the new offensive coordinator. I'm like, you mentioned scheme. In my mind, it's question on scheme. So they had a hard time running the ball. The scheme for Boise State most of the year last year was basically run first. So it makes me wonder, are they going to try and do like big boy ball in the Big 12 this year? It'll be interesting to see UCF doing that.
That's good points, guys. And it all remains to be seen. But I know Scott Frost, he did great at UCF the first time around. The whole thing at Nebraska, it's a tough spot right now to really get things going. Even Matt Rule's having struggles. This is his 3rd season. I will say Frost didn't do great there, but maybe back here they're in the Big 12 now with UCF. Maybe it's rekindle everything and get things going and maybe they get back to the top, because the Big 12 is looking for people to run the top of this conference. And I've always said UCF feel like it's like a sleeping giant. I mean, huge student enrollment. Florida pipeline. Now you're in the Big 12, so you get the power conference. There's so much going for this school. They've got the money, I think, to pump into this, and
they definitely have the money and the boosters to do whatever they want. Really,
yeah. We'll see what happens with it. Gents, you want to go look at the schedule, see how?
Let's take a look at that
2025
schedule.
2025 starting off, you got Jacksonville State, and honestly, that's a solid team from the group of 5. They're newer to the league, but every year it's like they're just pumping out teams that are tough. You don't want to look them over. And then you got North Carolina A&T, excuse me, AT&T, my bad. And then you get a bye week, North Carolina, Kansas State. Guys, what are you seeing? The start past that. Where's the hardest stretches to you?
I'll tell you what, man. I think the whole
September,
schedule is
October.
tough.
The Big 12 is so
the whole schedule is tough for UCF simply because of all of the changes all happening at one time.
Yeah.
You're breaking in new quarterbacks, you're breaking in a new offensive system, you're breaking in a new defensive system. It is literally changing of the guard in its entirety. And this schedule does not help them very much. I would say they have a blessing that for the first 4 weeks of the season, they don't leave the state of Florida, which is nice, which is a good way to start the season. I think North Carolina coming in could be a dangerous little game for them because it's right before they kick off the Big 12 season. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and then they follow that up with Kansas State, Kansas, and then that's kind of rough right there. But I don't know, man, it's tough. Their back end schedule's rough. After that last bye week, I feel like that's the toughest stretch, hands down.
It's gonna be a tough one. Blake, what are you thinking on this?
November is the hardest stretch, but I'll be honest. There's a lot of turnover in the Big 12 on the rosters. Yeah. And I mean, it's anyone's conference, but then like the North Carolina coming in, they're under a first-year coach, a lot of turnover.
That's an interesting one.
Can't wait to get there.
Well, I mean, it's he's got a heavy pimp pen, I've heard. But in reality, they could be sitting at 6-0 coming into that the Baylor game.
That's true.
It's possible.
Look, if
the back-to-back North Carolina Kansas State is a rough back-to-back there, but with the turnover the teams have had, I mean, it's possible they're sitting 6-0.
It's rough. I mean, there's a lot of turnover at all the schools right now.
Yeah, and really across the league, there's a lot. I mean, new quarterbacks, all over the college football. The Big 12 again, it's just you don't have those three flagship programs like Bama, Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, or Oregon, so now it's like, who the hell, there's really, you look on the schedule, you don't like chalk off an immediate loss. It's like everybody feels like they could beat everybody. So it's interesting to see how this is going to go. We mentioned it with Oklahoma State. They're projected to rebound. How much? So you look at it, the numbers again. OU over under for UCF is 6.5, is what I've seen, and I mean it could, it very well could get to that 7-win mark.
Possible.
It could also fall, still in the 4 win range. Mm-hmm. It just depends on how that offense really gels, because I do think the defense is going to be enough. Alex Grinch, I don't know. But the players there should be fine to compete with every team in the league. Depends if they can get that run game going, get the quarterback squared away. But 6.5, and also I looked at the SP Plus rankings, like the initial ones that come out from Bill Conley. They're rated 61st in the nation. UCF is, and again, if you don't know what that is, it's mixture. It's all advanced stats based on returning production, recent recruiting. Over the last couple of years, and recent history, of the team to gauge the health of a program. And then as each week goes through the season, all that new data files in, so you get more of an accurate picture. But it's interesting. So they're about mid-pack with what they have, and that does include the transfer portal guys too. So interesting. UCF is a strange cat. I don't know if I'm going to take the over on them though.
I'm not.
I'm probably I'm going under. I don't know where under, but I'm going under.
I'm thinking they're not going to meet. I don't think they're going to get 7 wins. That's where I think they could get 6. Yeah. I just don't think they'll get that 7th win.
Yeah, I think.
I'll be honest. They could hit 4-0 and then lose every game the rest of the season.
Also possible.
After that second
Also
bye
possible.
week, that is a tough stretch. I mean,
They might be
every
able to
team
squeak one out against Cincy, and that would make them 5. I think 5 would.
Yeah.
I think maybe Cincy, but after that, it's toss up.
UCF fans might hate us for it, but yeah, okay.
It's
so
a tough.
you win your
It's a
first
tough
2.
schedule. It's just a tough schedule, and Big 12 more than ever is very unpredictable this season.
Yeah, Baylor's gonna be solid. Texas Tech, BYU's got some questions. West Virginia's got Rich Rod back. Who knows? We'll see what happens. You guys let us know how you're feeling on that over/under, UCF fans. What are you feeling on the season? Anybody we missed that maybe makes you, feel more confident in hitting that over? Let us know in the comments. Guys, anything else before we close out on UCF?
No, that pretty much wraps it up. Utah,
right.
You're on deck.
Yep, you're on deck. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Again, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. We appreciate your time and watching. We'll see you guys around.